Hey everybody, it's Gail, and this is Errata-Hate episode 63, and I'm a little nervous about this one. So this is a how-to. We are going to be making a circle yoke sweater, which is a top-down construction of a sweater. If you watched episode 41, you might remember that we did an open front raglan sweater, which is another top-down construction, the raglan construction. This will also be an open front sweater. And there are some similarities in the two designs, which I'll get into in a minute. But I want to tell you the reason I'm a little nervous is because I have actually never successfully pulled off a circle yoke sweater. I have used the basic start of a circle yoke sweater to make capes, but I've never managed to get the sleeves right. So we're going to get in this together, keep our fingers crossed, let's see what happens. If you want to see what happens when I decide to go for a how-to and it does not come out the way I expected, episode 9 is a really good one for that. There's also a rant about the difference between bulky weight and super bulky weight and ridiculous yarn, which I'm still mad about. But I just I wanted to do this one for you guys, but I haven't been successful at it. But then I remembered episode 9 and I was like, fuck it, let's just jump in this together. I've been doing a lot of research, I've been watching some videos, I've been reading some information, and I think my version is going to be simpler than what a lot of circle yoke sweaters are. There's some left and right increase stuff going on, but we'll figure it out as we go. So it's a how-to for you and it's a how-to for me, so let's see how we do. So before I get into the actual start of construction, I just want to break down for you really quick the difference between a circle yoke and a raglan yoke start are. So with a raglan sweater, what you do is 4 sets of increases that are evenly spaced around a collar, and then you work the first increase, which is 3 stitches in a single stitch, and then every increase after that is worked into the middle stitch of the previous 3-stitch increase. So this is just 3 stitches into the chain, this is 3 stitches into the middle of this cluster, this is 3 stitches into the middle of this one, and so on. And that's how it is all the way around. And what you get from that is you get a seam for the raglan. That's part of what gives it its name, is that very visible seam. And you get this square neckline. So that's what you get when you do a raglan construction. You get a square neckline, you get stacked increases. Now when you're doing a circle neckline, circle yoke, circle neckline, I'm probably going to be interchanging those and I apologize. What you do is you try to stagger your increases. So the increases are red on this one, they're blue on this one. You try to stagger your increases so that they're not on top of one another. And then that allows for an increase, but a smoother neckline that comes out as a circle. And I know that I've got these here that are all stacked on each other, and I've got a couple that are like this. And that has to do with the amount of space I had to draw this. This is not a regular thing. You don't regularly have to worry about everything being right on top of each other when you're working a circle neckline. And the way that you do that is you have to figure out how to put your increases in so that you're getting increases every round, but you're not stacking everything all the time. Occasional stacking is not going to be a big deal. If you have 2 increases that are on top of each other, it's not going to cause a lot of problems. The other thing is that with the circle yoke, you're only doing 2 stitches in an increase stitch. So with the raglan, you have the 3, and with the circle yoke, you have the 2. And so you're never working in the middle of a stitch over here. You are working in the middle of a stitch over here, and that's part of what gives it its look and its shape. So I do have a circle yoke layout that I use when I'm making capes, and I'm just grabbing that for this project as well. And before I show you those increases, you need to have, there is a measurement you definitely need to get started, and what you need is your shoulder to shoulder measurement. So this is where, this is as far as you want the collar to go, because this is the top of your shoulders. So you're going to get your measuring tape out and measure just right from the ball of your shoulder, right to the ball of your shoulder, and for me that's 15. So I need a circle yoke that's going to go 15 inches shoulder to shoulder. I've actually done the first few rows of this sweater because I wanted to show you what the increases look like on an intentional stitch pattern as opposed to one I was sort of sketching out. So my stitch pattern, my increase pattern is actually a better term for that. My increase pattern for this sweater is as follows. So you're going to make a chain, and that chain should fit comfortably around your neck because it's an open front, but it doesn't need to strangle you. So I started with 80, and I'm working out from there. Just make a chain, wrap it around your neck till it feels comfortable, and like remember you might want to button or zip it, so don't get too tight right up there. So after the chain, you're going to turn, and I'm working in double crochet. This can be done in any stitch, of course. And these are my increases. So on the first row, I'm going to increase every 10 stitches. On the second row, I'm going to increase every 15. On the third, I'm going to increase every 20. On the fourth, I'm going to increase every 15. And then I'm going to repeat back up to the top. And I'm going to keep repeating this until the piece that I have goes shoulder to shoulder. And so I can put this on right now. You can see I've got, it's lying flat. It is, in fact, pretty circular looking already. And, I've got some more to work to get down to my shoulder. And I will just keep going in this increase pattern every row until I get there. And this here, so, it's upside down. I thought it looked a little weird. Hold on. All right, there we go. And I mean, it looks about the same. But, so that's what it looks like right now. I confused myself anyway. So it wasn't upside down. I just confused myself looking at it in the camera. So this red marker is the increase on stitch 10. This green marker is the increase on stitch 20, and then these purple markers are the increases on stitch 15. And as you can see, none of them are exactly overlapping each other. They get a little close, but that's fine. So what I'm going to do, having tested and seen, gotten an idea of what my increase pattern looks like I said, I'm going to keep working out to the shoulder measurement, to the 15. And when I get close, I'm actually going to lay it flat and measure it side to side, and I'll put that on video so you can see how to do that. It's very simple, but it just helps make sure that you didn't go over, or you're not still a little bit under where you need your shoulder measurement to be in order for things to be comfortable. Because after you hit the shoulder measurement, you're going to stop increasing, I think. I have to triple check, but like I said, this is sort of an experiment one for me, so we're in this together, so I will know when we get to that point what we do next, I promise you, so bear with me. And I'm working, this is worsted weight Karen 1 pound, and my trusty H hook, because I have so much leftover Karen 1 pound from con season, so I'm just gonna throw it all together and see what happens. Again, you can do this in any weight depending on how heavy you want your jacket. I'm going for a big cozy blanket jacket because it's getting to the gross part of the year, so worsted weight for me. And I'm going to go and work some more on this neck, and I will be back with the next part in a bit. Alrighty, I am back, and I completed another set of those increases and decided to stop and do a measurement to see how close I was to the 15 inches I need, because I have small shoulders, so I know from experience that I don't have to increase as much as people with wider shoulders need to. And you'll notice two things. First of all, this is laid out flat with the top edges touching, and that is to get that circular shape I need so that it's laid out to show me the correct size. And I've got my tape measure across it, and you can see that it is right now just under 14 inches. So what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to do 2 more rounds of increases, because I think that'll get me at 15 or pretty close, but I am going to be careful not to just immediately do another full set because I'm only an inch away. So I'm going to go do 2 more rounds, measure it again, and just work my way to that 15 so that the next phase of the jacket can get going. So I will be back with that. Hey everybody, I am back. As you can see, I've got my sweater out to the shoulder point. It's about a 1/2 inch wider than, it's about 15.5 inches instead of 15, but I like having the little extra. But also, I did that research I said I was going to do. I double checked myself on when increases stop, and I checked a few different blogs, I checked a couple of books, just sort of making sure everybody was in agreement about how this worked, and we actually need to keep increasing. So, that was good to find out and make sure that I was doing things right. Like I said, we're on an adventure. So, going from here, I'm going to keep doing that increase pattern of, grabbing my post-it here. I'm going to just keep working this increase pattern as this comes down until I have enough to do a join to put a sleeve together. And one of the ways that circle yoke crochet and raglans differ is that with raglan, you increase until you can get those, you can meet 2 increase points together to make the sleeve. And with a circle yoke, it's actually much more common that you increase, and then when you kind of get the sleeves where you want them in terms of like starting your fit, you chain the 2 sections together. You figure out where you're going to fold it, and then you do a chain between the sections that runs under your arm, which is definitely different than what I usually do, but you know, big fun. So I'm actually going to go, and because I not only have to deal with getting it down the length of my arm, I have a large chest. I need extra space for my boobs. So a lot of the stuff that I have looked at in terms of how long people make their yoke has to do with kind of getting like a little cap sleeve. I'm going to go a little bit longer than that because I need it to not just fit over my arms and my shoulders, but also my chest. So I'm going to have my sleeves a little longer than a lot of the tutorials and patterns I've seen. And, you know, we're just going to add right onto the sleeves after they're in. So I really don't think it matters how long they are, but I think that's going to be the way to get this, to get the fit right on this, which is a problem I kept having, was that I would join the sleeve and then I would go and then I just could not close it around my chest. And so that's the big thing I'm trying to avoid. So I'm going to go keep doing my increases and report back when it's time to do sleeve work. So I will see you guys soon. Hey everybody, I am back. As you can see, most of it at least, I have gotten a very large circle going, and so I think I will have enough space for my arms and my boobs and all the important parts, but I wanted to show you how I sort of measured this out, because I have stitch markers up at the top here, and then I have 2 down here. So the thing about this big circle is that it does need to be divided so I know where to put my sleeves. So I know that this front, in terms of the shoulder to shoulder measurement I did previously, needs to be 15 inches. So what I did was I took the tape measure and I measured from this edge over 7.5 inches. And I marked it, and then I counted out my stitches, and then I came over and I counted out my stitches over here and put it in the same stitch so that 7.5 and 7.5 will be 15. And then the next thing I did was measured the rest of the circle, because what I needed to do was to find the 15 inches for my back. It's going to be 15 inches because the front of my shoulders is 15 inches, and so I measured the whole thing, and then I took that final number, which was 59, so it's 59 around, from this stitch marker to this stitch marker. It is 59 inches around. So I took that, I subtracted 15 inches because that's what I needed, and I got 44, which means that each side here needed to be 22 inches from stitch marker to stitch marker. And so I did that, laid it out on both sides, and then I did measure this piece back here, and this is 15 inches. So that worked. That's how I figured that out. My next step is going to be to get the sleeves joined. So from that stitch marker to that stitch marker will become a sleeve, and then from that stitch marker to that stitch marker will also become a sleeve, and I will get the camera turned around and we'll do that together in just a minute. Hey everybody, I am here with my my big circle with all my stitch markers in it, and we are going to make the sleeve holes now. And what I have already done is worked my way across to the first stitch marker, well, right next to it. So I'm gonna do a double crochet next to it, and then I'm gonna sort of push my stitch marker aside and just leave it in the stitch while I'm double crocheting in it, because I think I'm gonna need that later for reference. So I've done that, and now what I need to do is get over here. And the way that I'm going to do that is to chain 12. And I've come up with 12 because I tried a few different lengths, and 12 gets me the closest to fitting around my bust. 4, 5, 6. Without everything feeling like it's going to be huge, because the top of the sleeves, I've done this once just to kind of get a look at it, and then I frogged out the rows so that I could show you guys. The sleeves might end up being a little big, but that's still better than I've done ever making a circle yoke sweater, so I'm alright with that. So that was 6 I made. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 chains. And I'm going to come all the way over here to my next stitch marker. And I am going to just double crochet right into it, pushing the stitch marker aside like I did before. And now that I've done that, I am going to stitch to the third stitch marker, and this is the back of the sweater right now that we're working on. So I'm just going to stitch my merry way across, just keeping with my double crochets. And I want you to know I had so much circle, you saw in the last part of the video, that I thought, well, maybe I can just join it like I join a raglan, where you just join kind of the 2 points together, you work across the back, you join 2 more points together, and that didn't work. And this is one of those things I kind of have to learn as I go, because I don't have a great understanding of how shapes work sometimes. And the reason it works for a raglan, in that you don't need to do a chain to make an underarm, and the reason it doesn't work for a circle yoke is because a circle yoke is the same size all the way around, and doesn't have any place where if you fold it in half it's going to lie flat. And that's basically what you're doing with a raglan, is you're folding it in half. And the reason that you could do that and have a nice armhole without having to add extra chains is because it's a square and you can fold a square in half. And with the circle yoke, what happened was I just had a bunch of fabric bunched up on my arms, and there's no way to fix that except to actually make it the way that everything was telling me to make it, which was to do the chains. But girls gotta try. Just my nature to be like, well, but why don't I do that? And so the underarm chain is a way that the two types of sweater design vary. And I've given you that other list already, so I will spare you. Getting there. So what's going to happen after we make these armholes is I'm going to try this on and see how it does fitting around my chest. And from there, I will be making a decision about whether or not I'm going to add some more increases to give space to my bust. I will be changing colors because I am almost out of this yellow, and I have a giant skein of green I would love to get used as well. And this is going to be, for this video, this will be a cropped jacket because the length of the jacket is not really something I'm concerned with. It'll work its way down the way it's gonna. So the length of the jacket is not something I'm concerned with. And now the sleeves are, definitely want to show you how to connect the sleeves. And so that will be part of this video. But after I get the video itself done, I'll probably add some more length to the jacket because I like big long jackets that I can kind of cuddle up in. Just wanted you to know why you wouldn't be seeing that if you were gonna, you know, go to Ravelry once this pattern is live and add it to your list of things. Okay, so hit that second stitch marker that was marking the back of the jacket. We're gonna chain 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And we are gonna come up to this final stitch marker right up here. And we're gonna work a double crochet in there, once again pushing the stitch marker off to the side. Okay. And then we're just gonna stitch all the way to the end of this row. So the reason I'm keeping these stitch markers in is to know where I want my increases to go if I do decide I need them. I know it might sound like that's more detail than is needed for knowing where to put increases, but it never hurts to remind yourself that, you know, this is where you would like them to go. And I'm doing them on either side of the armhole because that's what I've seen in the various books and tutorials I've looked at. But that's honestly, if I didn't put them there, I would just put them like down the center of the underarm instead. I've done that when I'm fitting raglans so that I can have a tighter sleeve, but also have it fit across my bust as I've worked increases after the arm join. That's something I should do for a video, actually. That could be a good video. I'll show you guys how I do that. It's not difficult, I don't think. And it's a nice way to get the raglan look if you want it without having to worry that it's going to be baggy because you have the problem that, you know, your boobs are huge and your shoulders are not. So, alright, we are at the end of the row. One more stitch to work. And got it. I'm just going to pull that loose. Alright, so now I'm going to put this sweater on my sweater so that I can sweater while I sweater. Slipping it on here. So, first thing, here we go. Alright, so first thing, this actually might fit. Yeah, it's a little tight. I can feel that it's a little tight. And so I think I will do a single set of increases along the stitch markers. So I'm going to do 2 stitches here, 2 stitches here, 2 stitches here, 2 stitches here, and the rest of it I'll work even. These sleeves seem like they're very big right now, but I honestly think that once I start working on them, once I start working on the sleeve itself, I'll have a better idea. I need it to come down flat so I can get a real good look at it, but I'm okay with working the sleeve down to a taper and doing a dolman sleeve, which is, I think, always a good look. So this is where we are right now. I'm going to switch to the green and get working on a couple of rows to see how those increases go. I'm not going to show you those increases on camera because it's just that one set of them in each stitch marker, but I will definitely report back in a couple of rows after I've checked the fit again to let you know how that went and if I'm having to redo it or what. But it really feels like I only need about another inch, and that's what I'll get from those increases. So I will see you guys in a minute. Alright, I am back again. I have added that length to the jacket. Like I said, this will be a crop jacket, so this will be as long as it's going to get for me. As you can see, I can pull it against my chest and it doesn't feel super tight. It doesn't feel like my boobs are getting smushed. So I'm very happy with the width of it. And I only had to do that single set of increases I told you about. Now, if you also need to do this sort of adjustment to fit your torso, Lord, to fit your torso into your jacket, I would recommend doing that set of increases like I showed you, and then working 2 rows, trying it on, deciding if you want to do another set of increases, doing another set of increases that are a copy of the first one. So you're going to put it, you know, if you go in here and here, you're going to just try to keep them in that line, and that's where your stitch markers can come in. You want to mark where the next increase is going to go. What you can do then, I think I can sit down. What you can do then is add another set of increases, do 2 more rows, try it on again, and what that's going to do is give you a nice steady increase that isn't going to cause problems with the silhouette. It should fit your silhouette as you go. So that is my recommendation. If you need to do more than 1 increase, I'm quite proud I only needed to do the 1, because usually I have to do a lot. So my next step is going to be to start working on these sleeves, and I'm going to get 1 done before I start filming again, so I know what I need to be doing, and I will come back and walk you through that process. And I will probably end up doing a little tapering, because like I said, this appears to be a lot of sleeve, but I'm going to probably do 2-3 rounds before I decide if that tapering is necessary. And if I do that tapering, I'll show you how I do it so you can understand how to sort of fit it to your arm, even if maybe it's a little large to start. So I'm gonna go knock that out, and I will see you guys soon. I have good news. We have a sleeve. It's a pretty big sleeve. You'll notice it's got a pretty sharp taper. That is because I was right about how much extra I had, but luckily I like kind of the big shoulders look that this taper is going to give me, because I have pretty small shoulders, so it's nice to really get them out there. But I'm going to show you how to check to see how much of a taper you might need to do if you're also finding that your sleeve section is a little big to start. So the first thing you need to do is get out your trusty tape measure, and either arm, flex, and whoop. I find it's easiest to just wrap it like this and then bring it around so that I can see where it goes. So for me, I've got about a 12.5-inch bicep when it's all flexed up. And the reason I flex is because maybe you have a larger bicep, and when you flex, that can make your clothes tighter and uncomfortable. So I know that working with the H-hook with this Karen 1 pound, I'm getting 4 stitches per inch. So I'm going to err to the side of slightly smaller at 12 inches just to do the math easier. So 12 times 4 is 48. And so to have a properly fitted sleeve, I would need 48 stitches. I know because I just did my first sleeve that I actually have 92 stitches around, and so that's going to need to come down. Now, the way that I did the taper was a gradual taper, which I will be showing you in a minute. And what this does is it gives you this diagonal, like what I've got going on here, where it's slowly coming in over time. And so by the time I was getting fairly close to my actual bicep size, this was actually down on my forearm. But like I said, this is a look I like. So I'm going to give you a couple of tips of how to taper after we get this started. And I think from there, you're going to be able to decide how you want to taper the sleeve if you need to. And I have now said taper so many times in a row, it does not sound like a real word. Taper, taper, taper. So to get the sleeve itself started, to get the big green part started, what you're going to want to do is come back to those chains that made up the underarm of your sleeve, like so. And however many you had, find the middle one. So I had 12, so I counted to 6. And remember, if you're having trouble telling your chains from the stitches around it, if you did the increases like I did, right there, that is in the first, that's in a double crochet, that is not a chain, and so that can tell you where to start, and then the other increase can tell you where to finish. The other thing you can do if you didn't need to do increases is just locate the last double crochet and then just look to the side. I had a lot of trouble for a long time seeing those kinds of things, so I always like to kind of give some notes on it. And so what you're going to do is from your starting point, let me get set up here, there we go. we are going to stitch over to right here where we have this double crochet on its side, and then we have this little gap that comes from working double crochet. So it's going to be one stitch in each of these to here, and then we get to the good stuff. Okay. So I've got the one where I want it. So like I said, I'm stitching across. I'm not doing it in close-up because, you know, it's a specialty stitch, just a nice little double crochet right there where you want it. And whoop, there's the other one. The one thing about this is having to navigate those chain stitches because we stitched them previously, and so then you've got to get it to share with the other stitches. And it can be a little moody. All right, there's my last chain stitch. And so coming up here, this is, like I said, this is a sideways double crochet. We're just going to work around that. And then I was incorrect. This is not the space between. This is actually the top of this double crochet. And so we're going to work into that. And that's fantastic because this is something that circle yokes and raglan yokes have in common, is that once you work through the join, whether it's, you know, this set of chain stitches or it's just the regular join or it's just the corner to corner join of a raglan, you're just working in the tops of stitches. And so it's much easier to do a smooth count out in terms of wanting to space it nicely so it looks good, instead of having to work in the edges of stitches and kind of hoping that you got the numbering right. Something else I've struggled with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work all the way around my big sleeve here and work my way back down into these chain stitches. I'm going to put my last stitch right next to my first stitch, but I'm not going to join right now. This is going to be a seamed sleeve. I prefer to do my sleeves with a seam at the end so that I don't get a wandering seam, so I don't accidentally eat a stitch here or there as I'm working with all these decreases. So I will be working from back and forth rows. And so what I'm going to do after I get to the end of this first row is turn my work, go around the other way, and then I'll be back to start showing you how to do the tapering that I do. So I'll see you guys in a bit. I am back. I finished those first two rows, and I wanted to walk you through how I do my decreases when I'm working on getting a sleeve to fit, and in general getting stuff to fit. So first of all, I like to do raglan decreases, and I'm not sure if that's actually their name, but that's what I call them, because when you do a raglan increase, you're working 3 stitches in a single stitch. And when I do my decreases, I like to decrease over 3 stitches at a time. I think it's a little bit neater, is basically it. But however you decrease, whether you do it, 2 stitches at a time, 3 stitches at a time, is not really important. It's about understanding sort of how to stack things so that the tapering happens, but it doesn't all sort of get bunched up in one spot. So what's going to happen here is I'm going to work 6 stitches, and I'm counting the starting chain as 1 stitch. So this is stitch 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I'm going to work that decrease. So I'm doing a double crochet decrease. I'm going to yarn over, I'm going to work into stitch number 7, I'm going to yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, work through stitch 8, yarn over, not yarn over, pull through the loop, sorry about that. Yarn over, pull through 2 loops, and then one more time, I'm going to yarn over, work into stitch 9, bring the loop through, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. I've got these 4 loops on the hook, so I'm going to yarn over and pull through all 4 loops, and that is my decrease. And so that decreases things by 2 stitches, and so I want to decrease 4 stitches this round, and so I'm going to come over to the other side of my work on the other side of the row here. I'm going to get my handy stitch marker, And I'm going to count from, starting with the starting chain, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I'm putting this into stitch number 9 because as I work around, that's going to be the first stitch I'm going to hit that needs to be part of my decrease. So I'm going to just work double crochets all the way around this big hole until I get to this stitch, and then I'm going to do that decrease right here. The next part of this is that I am then going to work 2 rows even so that the pull-in of that decrease can smooth out a little bit. And then my next set of decreases, I'm going to stagger off from where this one is. So I'm not going to put my next one at the same spot. I'm going to come up a little bit and work that decrease separately. And I'm actually going to do decrease by 8 on the next decrease, because decreasing by 4, you're losing about an inch while you're doing that, but that can take a long time. Just 4 and then work 2 and then 4 and then work 2, and I prefer to work 2 rows in between decreases rather than 1 because, like I said, it smooths things out a little bit more. And so to get this other sleeve so that I have this fitted bit at the end, but to not have a sleeve that's way longer than I need it to be, I alternated between decreasing by 4 and decreasing by 8 with 2 rows of working even in between each so that everything would lay a little nicer. So I will actually come back and show you how I do the 8 decrease, because I think it's a very useful thing to have. I always like having a couple little tricks in my back pocket in case I screw something up, because I measure stuff, but then I don't go back and remeasure stuff if it's stuff I'm making for myself. Like if I'm making it for a client, I think it's measured about every 5 rows. But I'm going to go work this, get this other decrease put in this row, work my 2 rows even, and then come back and show you how I do the 8 decrease, because it's actually 2 sets of decreases worked side by side with some untouched stitches in the middle. So I'll see you in a few. I went ahead and worked over to where I'm going to start my decreases, since I know you all know how to do that. I have also gone ahead and marked where I need to start my decreases when I get around the sleeve. So what I'm about to show you, it's another set of raglan decreases, but it's a little bit different because this is something I use if I need to decrease kind of really quickly. So if I've got something where I know, oh man, I gotta bring something in as fast as I can, this is one of the things that I do. So it's going to be the same as before. We're going to yarn over, pull through a loop, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, go into that next stitch, pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, go into the stitch, pull through loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, and then pull a loop through all 4 of those loops. So that's the first part of this decrease. And now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to work the next 3 double crochets, just plain, nothing fancy. And once I do that, I'm going to do another set of decreases like I just did. So I'm going to decrease over the next 3 stitches. 2, 3. And so what I have are 2 decreases on this side with this space in between so they don't get bunched up together. And so when I get over here, I'll work a decrease over these 3 stitches. I'll work 3 stitches even, and then I'll work another decrease and then work to the end of the row. And then I will work 2 rows even and then repeat both sets of decreases. So I'll repeat the 4 decrease, work my 2 rows even, repeat the 8 decrease, work my 2 rows even, and just keep doing that as I work down so that this can continue to close in and taper like I want it to. So I already know, because I've got my notes here from making the first sleeve, that this is going to take some time. There's a lot of rows here. And I really want to encourage you to not skip those work even rows because it will keep things looking a little nicer. You're not going to get kind of weird bulges like you would if you were stacking your decreases on top of one on top of each other. The other thing I do want to let you know is that because there are these 2 rows in between decreases, you can put your decreases in the same place every time. So this 4 decrease was worked on stitch 7, so you can do it on stitch 7 here. These were worked, this started on stitch 10, this one started on stitch 16, and so you can start on stitch 10 the next time you do it, and you will get to a point that especially the 8 decreases are going to get pretty close together, but it never goes bad. Like, I mean, you can see here, you know, as we get further down, you know, down around this area is when those decreases started getting really close together, but it's those rows in between that allow you to do that kind of decreasing and keep a good look on your project. So I am just going to go work everything I told you over and over again until I get to the end of the sleeve, and I will be back to show you the final result and talk to you about ways that you can take this basic idea and explore it outwards in a few different ways, because I definitely have ideas. I mean, I think we all know I'm kind of like that. So I will see you soon. I fibbed. Not really fibbed. I realized as I was finishing this second sleeve, which is still open, that I didn't show you how I seamed the first sleeve, and that might be useful. And it's possible that you have varying ways to seam things yourself. Finding my yarn. And that's cool, you know, just seam it however you want, but this is how I usually handle sweater seaming on sleeves, since so often I work them in rows rather than in rounds, because I've had so many times where working in rounds I've dropped stitches or something. So what I'm doing here, let me get all set up, there we go, is I'm holding the 2 sides of the sleeve together, and then I am putting my hook through both sides of the sleeve. Whoop, there, now you can see it. And then I have my starting chain, and I'm gonna pull it through both of these, and then chain 1, and then come into the next spot in the fabric, like the next hole, and just do a single crochet. Next spot in the fabric, single crochet, and you're going to repeat this all the way down. Now the thing about working a seam on a double crochet like this that I always had a lot of problems with when I was first doing more sweaters was that with double crochet you need to actually do if you're doing a slip stitch or a single crochet join, you need to do 2 stitches per double crochet, because a double crochet is basically 2 smaller stitches stacked on top of each other. And so what I've done is I always end up stitching, so this is the double crochet itself, and so I stitch in this, and then this small hole that makes up the build up between the 2 stitches is where I put the second one, and then I come down and I keep going, because you always have that extra bit there. And so that's helped me keep my seams even. That helps me space things well, and also that means I will get to the end of my sleeve and everything should be the same length still, because that was my big problem back in the day, was that I would be working on a sweater and I would be doing my best to seam, but I would miss where I should be putting my stitches because it was kind of hard to see. You know, you just got to train your eye for it. And so I would end up, you know, I'd come to the end of a sleeve that I thought looked good, and we were in like one of these situations. We're like one side's way further down. But that's how I fixed it. So I'm going to go take this and take this and finish my seam and get my ends woven in, and then I really will be back to show you what it looks like, because for the sake of this tutorial, that will be it. So I'll see you guys in a bit. All right. Back with the arms finished. They are enormously puffy, but I'm in love with them. So it's a good thing I have a an appreciation for more of an 80s look sometimes. But you can see the whole thing now. So, you know, we started out with that circle yoke. We got it in there. We got the sleeves on. We got the little addition going. Now, I'm actually going to be doing more with this sweater than what I did in the video. I'm going to lengthen it. I'm going to put a hood on. It's going to be a whole thing. But I didn't want to do all of those pieces in the same video when the goal was just to make the basic sweater, which I did. I pulled it off. Maybe next time the sleeves won't be quite so large. But you will notice they are very well fitted at the wrists, so they're not going to go flying around. But if you keep up with me on Ravelry, or even if you don't, all of my projects are public, so you can just click the link down in the basement and check them out. You can see where this jacket ends up. So I'm going to set it up so that the post about the jacket includes, this is the first one because this is what we made, and then the second photo will have all the continuous details. So I'm going to go do that, try to kill some more Karen 1 pound that's lying around my apartment. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this was fun for you. If you have a particular project you'd like me to walk you through, you know, just leave a comment down in the basement and I'll definitely consider it. I don't want to say no to anything. There are some things that I know I'm not the best person at, though. So, like, you know, that's why I'm not just saying, we'll do it. So I will see you guys for the next episode. As always, please like, share, subscribe, that whole spiel. And I'll see you for 64.